ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं शरवणमङ्गलं श्रीपदाततं भुवि वदन्ति हे भूरिदा जनाः. Your words are like nectar, bring life to scorched souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Welcome to our class on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We started chapter 37 last week, the Master and Narendra. The date is Sunday, March 1st, 1885, and we're on page 709, towards the bottom. Yeah, conversation has been mostly with Sri Ramakrishna and Narendra, but a lot of it has to do with Girish and how often Narendra has been visiting him and different things like that. So, yeah, I'll go back to the middle, read the last paragraph again. Master, do you visit Girish frequently? No matter how much one washes a cup that has contained a solution of garlic, still a trace of the smell will certainly linger. This is Girish Ghosh, Girish Chandra Ghosh, the great playwright who was famous equally for drinking and carousing and all sorts of things. And when he came to Sri Ramakrishna, he underwent a great change in many different ways. Thakur is talking about how uh, difficult it is to get rid of old samskaras. So, no matter how much one washes a cup that has contained a solution of garlic, still a trace of the smell will certainly linger. The youngsters who come here are pure souls, untouched by lust and gold. Men who have associated a long time with lust and gold smell of the garlic as it were. They are like a mango pecked by crows. Such a fruit cannot be offered to the deity in the temple, and you would hesitate to eat it yourself. Again, take the case of a new pot and another in which curd has been made. One is afraid to keep milk in the second pot, for the milk very often turns sour. Householder devotees like Girish form a class by themselves. They desire yoga and also bhoga. But this isn't such a bad thing. He used to say, even Keshav, and many of the others, bless you, that they wanted to hold on to God with one hand and the world with the other. But with the Girish, it's a little bit more this Bhairava attitude. Their attitude is that of Ravana, who wanted to enjoy the maidens of heaven and at the same time realize Rama. They are like the Asuras, the demons, who enjoy various pleasures and also realize Narayana, Narendra. But Girish has given up his old associates. Now, one thing we notice about Narendra, Swami Vivekananda, is from a very early age, he's always standing up for people who are looked down upon by society, even by Sri Ramakrishna a little bit. That Hazra and others, that somehow he had a soft spot for these people and genuinely liked them. Yeah. So here he'll argue a little bit against Ramakrishna, just to stand up for Girish because they've become good friends. Narendra. But Girish has given up his old associates. Master, yes, yes. He's like a bull castrated in old age. In Vurdwan, I once saw an ox moving about the cows. I asked a bullock cart driver, what is this? An ox? How strange. He said to me, true, sir, but it was castrated in old age, and so it hasn't altogether shaken off the old tendencies. Yeah. So this is the situation with these samskaras. A trace may remain, a trace of these samskaras, even for a God realized soul. Yeah, we're just getting into this section from Panchadashi that emphasizes that idea Even the God-realized soul will have a little bit of trace. We hear that one becomes fearless after one realizes God. But Thakur says, you dream about the tiger, you wake up, you know that there was no tiger, still your heart is beating a little bit. So just a little bit of trace of these things will remain to a certain extent. They'll easily fall off, and they won't mean too much, but they may be there. That's all. In a certain place, there sat some sannyasis. A young woman happened to pass by. All continued as before to meditate on God, except one of them, who cast sidelong glances at her. Before becoming a monk, he had been the father of 3 children. If you make a solution of garlic in a cup, won't it be hard to remove the smell from it? Can a worthless tree like the babui produce mangoes? Of course, such a thing may become possible through the occult powers of a yogi, but can everyone acquire such powers? So all of this is not 100% directed towards Girish. He's talking in general, but is triggered by Girish. And see, he has this slight fear in his mind that Narendra mind may be affected a little bit by spending too much time with Girish because of the old tendency. As much as he has faith in Narendra and knows his whole future, still a little bit of that doubt is there. So he's just warning him a little bit, be a little cautious. Of course, Girish will hear all of this and he'll be very upset. And he'll charge Sri Ramakrishna. So this smell of garlic won't go. Thakur will say, yeah, I can go. It's okay. When have worldly people time to think of God? A man wanted to engage a Pundit who could explain the Bhagavata to him. His friend said, I know of an excellent Pundit, but there is one difficulty. He does a great deal of farming. He has 4 plows and 8 bullocks and is always busy with them. He has no leisure. Thereupon the man said, I don't care for a Pundit who has no leisure. I'm looking for a Bhagavata scholar. I am not looking for a Bhagavata scholar burdened with plows and bullocks. I want a Pundit who can really expound the sacred books to me. There was a king who used to listen daily to a Pundit's exposition of the Bhagavata. Every day at the end of their study, the Pundit would ask the king, O king, have you understood what I have read? To this question, the king would daily give the same reply, Sir, you would better understand it first yourself. Now, we've seen with some of these Pundits, the Shasidhar and others, they had some stuff to them. They've gradually learned what was the real meaning of this. For Sri Ramakrishna, it's all the ways renunciation and God realization. Each day, when the Pundit returned home, he would ponder the meaning of the king's words. He was a pious man, devoted to prayer and meditation. Gradually, he came to his senses and realized that the only real thing in the world is the lotus feet of God, and that all else is illusory. He felt this passion for the world and took up the life of a monk. As he was leaving the world, he sent a man to the king with a message. Yes, O king, now I have understood. But do I look down on worldly people? Of course not. When I see them, I apply the knowledge of Brahman, the oneness of existence. Brahman itself has become everything. All are Narayana himself. Regarding all women as so many forms of the Divine Mother, I see no difference between a chaste woman and a street walker. Now, if we're talking about the coverings, then there's a difference. If we're talking about the essence, then there's no difference. If we're talking about the real nature of the self within, it's the same in everybody. God is the thief. God is the cheat. All of these, the same Narayana. The same Narayana in the tiger. Same in the elephant. Same in the Mahut. The distinction that we make is based on the nature of the individual with regard to the swabhava, with regard to the nature of the mind, really, and how much of sattva, how much of rajas, and how much of tamas is there. And with regard to the roles that people play in this lifetime, that it's not that people that we all choose exactly what we want to be in this lifetime. That these are things that are based on so many different factors. What we come into this world with, what our adrishti is. We have this idea adrishta, that unseen force that will push us in a certain direction. Prarabdha karma. So even from that point of view, we shouldn't blame people that they all have their own nature. They may not be happy with it themselves, but uh, everybody deserves respect. Everybody deserves, and if we see from the higher point of view, God dwelling within, of course, that's a different thing. But even to see uh, the human side, see Swamiji. Uh, why did Swamiji love human beings so much? Was it because of the self dwelling within? Of course, if that's not there, nothing is there. But he loved people. He loved with their weaknesses, with their good points, bad points, and everything. Those who were suffering. Who did he love the most? The poor, the suffering, downtrodden, and everything. Yeah. So it's not that he had equally just seeing the self within. There's that has to filter into the personality of the person. Otherwise, it's a type of empty humanism. There was a character in a novel written by Jean-Paul Sartre. I refer to Sartre a lot because I read a lot and I like him. Existentialist, French existentialist. And this character, I think it was in Nausea. This character was called the humanist. And the special feature of the humanist was that he loved all of humanity, but he didn't like people. Yeah, it was just an abstract kind of thing. The idea of when it was face to face with people, he didn't really care for them too much. So it's one thing to just say, yes, God dwells within all beings, but that won't necessarily allow us to come into close contact. We have to feel from the heart level. We have to feel some kind of oneness, and this is on so many levels. Just from the very basic level that we all struggle with the basic, trying to provide for ourselves, trying to have a decent life, trying to provide for family, all different things that we have in common with people. So to find the common things more than just, yes, self, God dwells within as the self, the Antaryaman, is the consciousness. More than that, Swamiji felt a bond with all beings. So there's something deeper than that. So for Sri Ramakrishna, yes, if we're talking about uh, God dwelling within all the beings, within a chaste woman, within a streetwalker, still there can be some sense of aversion to those who lead a different type of life. Sri Ramakrishna didn't have that, so it ran deeper than that. That he could feel this oneness with all people. Alas, I find no customers who want anything better than Kolai Pulse. Yeah, he used to give the example that there, when you see these pita, you see these different, like a crepe. You don't know what it's stuffed with. Some with very ordinary types of things, some with very sweet, nice coconut milk and everything. That it means that people are satisfied with very ordinary types of things. No one wants to give up lust and gold. Man, deluded by the beauty of woman and the power of money, forgets God. But to one who has seen the beauty of God, even the position of Brahma, the creator, seems insignificant. A man said to Ravana, "You've been going to Sita in different disguises. Why don't you go to her in the form of Rama?" Now, this Ravana is an example of someone who, for some reason in that Leela, had to play the role of being the one to capture Sita and everything. But somehow as part of that Leela, he had some devotion for Rama. Yeah, curious kind of thing. I don't know so much about it, but Ravana replied, when I meditate on Rama in my heart, the most beautiful women, celestial maidens like Rambha and Tilotama, appear no better than ashes of the funeral pyre. Then even the position of Brahma appears trivial to me, not to speak of the beauty of another man's wife. Then he'll repeat himself again. Alas, I find that all the customers here seek worthless kalaipos. Unless the soul is pure, it cannot have genuine love of God. Now, soul is pure. What does that mean? It means the mind. It means otherwise the soul. If we're talking about Atman, it's pure. There's no chance of impurity touching it. It means the mind. Unless the soul is pure, it cannot have genuine love of God and single-minded devotion to the ideal. The mind wanders away to various objects. To Manomohan. There's a footnote. Manomohan was a householder disciple of the master whose sister was married to Rakal. And then actually, he was the one who brought Rakal to Sri Ramakrishna. To Manomohan, you may take offense at my words, but I said to Rakal, I would rather hear that you had drowned yourself in the Ganges than learn that you had accepted a job under another person and become his servant. Now, what's wrong with having a job? Nothing wrong with having a job, but it means leading a householder kind of life. He wanted him to renounce the world, of course. And in those days, most of the jobs were civil service jobs, and they really were civil servants. They really got bossed around by their masters in their boots, the Englishmen. One day, a Nepalese girl came here. She sang devotional songs to the accompaniment of the Esraj. When someone asked if she was married, she said sharply, What? I am a handmaid of God. Whom else could I serve? How can a man living in the midst of lust and gold realize God? Yeah, this lust and gold. Yeah, if we just understand this is in the midst of temptation, this is what Thakur really means. How can a person living in the midst of temptation, whatever it is, if it's for sensual enjoyment, it's for drinking, it's for whatever is the weakness that we have, if it's for power or for money, that Thakur, his advice was, protect yourself. Don't live in the midst of that if you can. Keep holy company. Try to avoid the company of people who will drag your mind down and environments like that. It is very hard for him to live an unattached life. First, he is the slave of his wife. We can say slave of husband also. Yeah, this means of the spouse. Thakur is always talking to men. This is why it sounds like this. Second, of money. And third, of the master whom he serves. When Akbar was emperor of Delhi, there lived a hermit in a hut in the forest. Many people visited the holy man. At one time, he felt a great desire to entertain his visitors, but how could he do so without money? So he decided to go to the emperor for help, for the gate of Akbar's palace was always open to holy men. Akbar was a good person. He I don't know again much about it, but he tried to start his own kind of new religion. Little, what was it called? Dine Ilahi of the poor. Yeah, 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 yeah. And it was widespread at one time, huh? Yeah. So he decided to go to the emperor for help, for the gate of Akbar's palace was always open to holy men. The hermit entered the palace while the emperor was at his daily devotions and took a seat in a corner of the room. He heard the emperor conclude his worship with the prayer, O God, give me money, give me riches, and so on and so forth. When the hermit heard this, he was about to leave the prayer hall, but the emperor signed to him to wait. When the prayer was over, Akbar said to him, "You came to see me. How is it that you were about to leave without saying anything to me?" "Your Majesty need not trouble yourself about it," answered the hermit. "I must leave now." When the emperor insisted, the hermit said, "Many people visit my hut, and so I came here to ask you for some money." "Then," said Akbar, "why were you going away without speaking to me?" The hermit replied, "I found that you too were a beggar. You too prayed to God for money and riches. Thereupon I said to myself, why should I beg of a beggar? If I must beg, let me beg of God." So that means full reliance, full surrender. This word din is an Arabic word that means servant also. I wondered if it means, and what sense he used it in that. Aladdin is a servant of God, like David. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. So what does it mean then? Din Allah? Servant. Yeah, servant. Yeah. We can take it the other way of the lowly, but yeah. Now, all of this is being said to Narendra, and of course, is listening and remembering everything. And Narendra is all taking all of this to refer to Girish somehow. Somehow he's so Narendra. Nowadays, Girish Ghosh thinks of nothing but spiritual things. Master, that is very good. But why is he so abusive? Now, Girish, he was abusive when he was drunk. Otherwise, he was more than respectful. He surrendered everything to Ramakrishna. But when he started to drink, he could be abusive, sometimes out of excessive devotion. That one time he had such a desire to serve Ramakrishna that, and another time when he thought that Ramakrishna could get rid of his illness, and he said, "I'll beat it out of you." And there were times when really when he was drunk, he was so abusive that others were just dumbfounded how he could speak to him that way, just when he was drinking, really. But he could also be a little forceful with him. That was the nature of his personality. Most of the time, Sri Ramakrishna didn't mind at all, that he understood Girish, but sometimes it became too much. So he says, that is very good, but why is he so abusive? Why does he use such vulgar language to me? In my present state of mind, I cannot bear such rudeness. When a thunderbolt strikes near a house, the heavy things inside the house are not much affected, but the window panes rattle. Nowadays, I cannot bear such roughness. A man living on the plane of Sattva cannot bear noise and uproar. That is why Hridoy was sent away. Now, the case with Hridoy, uh, Thakur couldn't have managed without him in the beginning. He was absolutely necessary at that time. There was nobody else to serve him. And he looked after him day and night. He served him, everything. But gradually, this Hridoy, he started to become very proud and very arrogant. His attitude changed. And he felt he could boss around Sri Ramakrishna to the extent that Sri Ramakrishna was really afraid of him. I used to wonder how it was possible for Sri Ramakrishna not to say anything when Holy Mother came as a young girl, and Hridoy was very abusive to her, and she and her father, they turned right around to walk back to Jarnambati. But then I realized that he was afraid to say a word to this Hridoy, that he said that Hridoy was so abusive to him, tortured him so much that he was about to commit suicide, to enter into the Ganges, to commit suicide. So what happened was, one day Hridoy took it into his head to worship the daughter, actually the granddaughter of Mathur Babu, Sarai Lokanath's daughter, young girl. This is done as a Kumari Puja kind of thing, but for a Brahmin to worship a girl of a family of a much lower caste, they were kind of Arctic fishermen caste. It was considered very, very inauspicious. This Tarai Lokanath was furious, and he gave an order that Hridoy has to be immediately removed. That was the time when the confusion came, and the messenger, thought it was Ramakrishna who had to be removed. And Thakur, he said, "Oh, you want me to leave? Okay." And what did he do? He took his gamcha, he threw it over his shoulder, and he started to walk away. And then when word got back that Thakur was told instead of Hridoy, and then they came running and said, "No, please forgive us. It was a mistake. We don't want you to leave." And he said, "Okay," and he came back. It was the same mind, completely undisturbed. And where was he going to go? Of course, he could have gone someplace, but still, yeah, he has such reliance on Divine Mother that it didn't bother him at all. So anyhow, when Hridoy was really thrown out, Thakur took that as the will of the Divine Mother, the play of the Divine Mother, because it would have been impossible for him to, for devotees to come and for him to fulfill the mission for which he was born, with the Hridoy behaving like that. Even Hazra, when he left later, Thakur felt was also the play of the Divine Mother. That is why Hridoy was sent away. It was the Divine Mother who sent him away. During the latter part of his stay, he went to extremes. He became very rough and abusive to Narendra. Do you agree with Girish about me? Now, this is the other side of the coin. That Girish had fervent conviction that Ramakrishna was an avatar. No question. And he went about telling everybody and everyone that he was an avatar. And Narendra was very slow to come to that conclusion, that as a member of the Brahmo Samaj, he was used to not even accepting the concept of an avatar. It wasn't that he believed in all of the others, but not Ramakrishna. That this idea of the avatar was a little foreign to the members of the Brahmo Samaj. The many things they didn't care for. We know image worship, this guru idea, and the other idea of the avatar. So he was a little slow about that, even though he had the greatest respect for Ramakrishna and love for him, and recognized that he was a absolutely rare soul. His spiritual achievements were beyond anything that anybody had ever seen. He accepted all of that, but just as one idea, partly because he had a little bit of that Vedanta in him, that God dwells within all beings. Why single out the avatar as if God isn't within everybody else? God dwells equally within all beings. This is one way of looking at it. Thakur would say, yes, but Shakti is different. So anyhow, Sri Ramakrishna, he likes the idea that Narendra is associating with Girish from that point of view, that Girish recognizes Ramakrishna, but from this other side, that Girish's old tendencies and maybe his language and other things, that he didn't care for. In the early days, we don't find Sri Ramakrishna saying too much about this avatar business. Later, with his intimate disciples, that he felt it was important for them to recognize this. So we'll find him asking. And sometimes he would ask just to see the extent to which they've been able to see who is standing before them in the form of Sri Ramakrishna. He would ask many of the young ones also. To Narendra, do you agree with Girish about me? That means that I'm an avatar. Narendra, he said he believed you to be an incarnation of God. I didn't say anything in answer to his remarks. And now this Narendra, he's very honest. He's extremely honest, that he's not going to say that I agree if he doesn't agree. And at the same time, he doesn't want to come out and say, no, I disagreed with him, because he has an open mind also. And he's telling exactly, he didn't want to hurt the feelings of Girish or get into an argument. So he didn't say anything to him. I read an interesting thing about this honesty of Narendra and sticking to the truth. If he said something, It's a very interesting incident that Sri Ramakrishna is asking, where's Narendra? He's supposed to come today. Narendra said that, yeah, he would come at 4 in the afternoon, something like that. And they went out and searched for him, and they saw that he was outside. And they said, well, why haven't you come yet? He said, I told the master I would come at 4 o'clock. It's not yet 4 o'clock. This is the words that came out of my mouth. So he had that devotion to truth, maybe not as great as Ramakrishna, but still something special. So it's a nice answer. He said he believed you to be an incarnation of God. I didn't say anything in answer to his remarks. So he's not really answering the question, do you agree with Girish? He's telling him that at that time he didn't agree with Girish, or he didn't disagree with Master. But how great his faith is, don't you think so? The devotees listened intently to the Master's words. He was still seated on the mat spread on the floor, with M by his side and Narendra in front of him. The devotees were sitting around. After a few minutes' silence, he said to Narendra tenderly, my child, you will not attain God without renouncing lust and gold. Now, every once in a while, Sri Ramakrishna will talk to Narendra as if he forgets that there's anybody else in the room. There are householders there. He's going to talk these words of renunciation, and the other is going to be a little frightened. Well, what about us? But now this is just for his sake. And see, there was a twofold fear on the part of Sri Ramakrishna about Narendra's future. Even though he had so many visions, even though when he touched Narendra and put him in kind of almost hypnotic state and asked questions about his future and everything, that everything tallied with what he knew about him. So somehow he knows that, but still, two doubts were in his mind. One, that somehow Narendra would be forced to lead a worldly life. It was well known at this time that Narendra's relatives were trying to arrange his marriage. And there was some pressure on him because the marriage could alleviate the financial problems of the family. They were arranging with a good family, a lot of money would come and everything. So this is one fear. The other side was Narendra will just give up everything and renounce the world and leave. So these were the two things that are in Thakur's mind a little bit. As he said, this great emotion welled up in his heart. Fixing on Narendra an earnest and tender look, he sang. We are afraid to speak, and yet we are afraid to keep still. Our minds, O Radha, have believed that we are about to lose you. We tell you the secret that we know, the secret whereby we ourselves and others, with our help, have passed through many a time of peril. Now it all depends on you. So this is this play of this lila of the gopis, Krishna, and the gopis themselves had that fear of losing Krishna, and now of losing Radha. I don't know exactly, but anyhow, this is Sri Ramakrishna's way of telling Narendra that he knows that there's a chance that Narendra may leave. There's a long footnote. I'll read that here. This was a very critical period in Narendranath's life. After his father's death, he had been faced with extreme poverty. Friends and relatives had proved indifferent or treacherous. Yeah, I don't understand this, especially Ramchandra. Such a close relative, his uncle, Ram lived in the same house growing up with him. Where was he at this time? M was secretly doing what he could.
How were they related, Ramchandra?
His uncle.
Was his father's brother?
That I don't remember. Probably on the mother's side, because father was the only son. Yeah, his grandfather renounced the world after his father was born. So I think everything's on the mother's side.
Wouldn't it be Ramchandra Datta?
Yes. He could have also been a Datta on the mother's side. Dattas marry Dattas. Huh? Why not?
No, not in the north.
Oh, the north. You can't marry within the same caste.
Same goat.
Same birthright.
Uh-huh. Oh, really?
Brahmins.
Oh.
Only Brahmins.
Only Brahmins can.
But titles can be the same.
Well, anyhow, somebody can check. I think it's on the mother's side. So after his father's death, he had been faced with extreme poverty. Friends and relatives had proved indifferent or treacherous. His rational mind could not reconcile the existence of human misery with the mercy of God. A few days before this meeting with the master, on his way home, almost exhausted after a futile search for a job, he had sat down on the open porch of a house by the street, waiting for a shower of rain to pass. There he had received a revelation in which he had found the solution of all his conflicting problems. We don't know exactly what it was. He doesn't really explain it, but we know this incident really took place. He had felt refreshed, realizing the unreality of the world, and had determined to become a monk at once. So he had come to the master to take leave of him, but had not told him of his intention. Yet nothing could be hidden from Sri Ramakrishna, hence the song. This, I think, also, similar thing took place in Kashipur later. That Narendra also wanted to leave. Anyhow, I thought it was at that time. Sri Ramakrishna seemed to be, so the footnote is not written by M. Yeah, but now this is M's comment. Sri Ramakrishna seemed to be afraid lest Narendra should leave him. Narendra looked at the master with tears in his eyes. A visitor who was there for the first time heard and saw all this. He said to the master, "Sir, if one must renounce lust and gold, then what shall a householder do?" Master, you may enjoy lust and gold. What has passed between us is no concern of yours. So I myself have a little doubt. Why is he pushing so much for this? You have to renounce everything if he's afraid that he's going to renounce. Everyone is guessing, huh? But he did have that thought in his mind. It could have been the other way also, this proposed marriage. I don't know. Yeah, so this was a dilemma for many of the householders, that they would hear Sri Ramakrishna talk about the need to renounce everything to realize God. And they would think, well, what about us? But this was specifically for them. He would we have whole chapters advice to householders, where he would explain to them that, as Gita says, this performance of duty, offer everything to God. Real renunciation is internal renunciation. It's a detachment. It's not clinging to this ego sense, that if one can do all of that, one is a real sannyasi. This is according to Sri Krishna in Gita. Mahimacharan, a householder devotee, heard everything and sat speechless. Master to Mahima, go forward, push on. You will discover the forest of sandalwood. Go farther and you will find the silver mine. Go farther still and you will see the gold mine. Do not stop there. Go forward and you will reach the mines of rubies and diamonds. Therefore I say, go forward. Mahima, but sir, something holds us back. We can't move. Master with a smile. Why? Cut the reins. Cut them with the sword of God's name. The shackles of Kala, time, are cut by Kali's name. Every now and then the master cast his gracious look on Narendra. He said, have you now become an experienced physician? Quoting a Sanskrit verse, he said, he who has killed only 100 patients is a novice. Shatamadi. Shatamadi. Huh? Vaidyo. Huh? He has become an expert after killing 1,000. Sahaswaramadi chikitsaka. Yeah. Was the master hinting that Narendra, even though still young, had had many painful experiences of life? Narendra smiled and kept silent.
Now, for the
Hmm.
worldly devotees,
Hmm.
does it also mean that the smell of garlic will never go?
So you see, the smell of garlic, in the case of Girish, was really things that typical households don't do. I mean, he had his mistresses, and he went to these brothels and excessive drinking and probably opium, all sorts of things. That yeah, you don't have anything like that. Yeah, we don't have to worry about that kind of thing. But uh, you think that monks led a perfectly pure life, all of them from their very childhood? No. It's not that we're all perfect and we never had any uh, enjoyment of the world or anything like that. Not like a householder, perhaps, but still, yeah. So anyhow, Thakur will say later to Girish, this fire of knowledge can burn away even the smell of garlic. So, but see, uh, when transformation takes place, when one takes the spiritual life, the past doesn't. We don't have to bother about it. That type of transformation will reduce the force of prarabdha karma to almost nothing. Almost nothing. The pinprick. Huh? The pinprick. So uh, Thakur, he was very gracious with regard to this law of karma. That well, because a very strict belief is that prarabdha karma can't be reduced except through experience. But Holy Mother and Thakur, they said it can be greatly reduced, but not completely eliminated. So they paid respect to it, you can say. Yeah. But those who were some of the greatest saints were the greatest sinners. This in Christianity, it's Augusta, that he was known for that. And he said there's no saint without a past, no sinner without a future. So sometimes there are many examples of that. Look at this Vishwamangal. Yeah, he became a great saint. Yeah, he had her to become a saint because his girlfriend, his mistress, the prostitute. Yeah, she she called him a fool, and his eyes were open. Yeah, so when transformation comes and some grace comes, yeah, all sorts of things can be cleansed, washed away. It was afternoon. The devotees were seated around the master, listening to Navai Chaitanya's singing. Suddenly, the master left the room, but the music continued. M accompanied the master. See, very often Thakur would leave the room, and everyone else would stay there. M always went with him. It seems like, whenever he could, he would go with them and just observe and see and remember something may happen that he didn't want to miss. Sri Ramakrishna walked across the courtyard and entered the temple of Radhakanta. Somehow, this singing of Navai Chaitanya, this will be Vaishnava, this is Kirtan. So he's inspired by that probably. He bowed down before the images, M following him. There was some red powder in a tray. Oh, this is Dol Jatra, holy. This is the day, yeah, when they offer this obvious, this powder, colored powder at the feet of the deity. There was some red powder in a tray. The master offered a little powder to the images and bowed down again. Next, he proceeded to the Kali temple. Passing up the 7 steps, he stood in the open porch and looked at the image. Then he entered the shrine, offered red powder to the Divine Mother, and saluted her. As he left the temple, he asked M, "Why didn't you bring Babu Ram with you?" Babu Ram, of course, later Swami Premananda, he was a student, one of M's students. As Ramakrishna returned to his room, accompanied by M and another devotee carrying the tray of red powder, he offered a little of it to all the pictures of gods and goddesses in his room, but not to those of Jesus Christ and himself. So he had his own picture in his room. I never thought I never thought about that. Then he threw the powder in the bodies of Narendra and the other devotees. They all took the dust of his feet. In the cool shade of the late afternoon, the devotees walked about in the temple garden, leaving the master and M in the room. The master whispered to M, "All say that they meditate well, but why is it different with Paltu?" Paltu is another one of these young boys that Thakur liked very much. "What do you think of Narendra? He is utterly guileless. Just now he is faced with many difficult family problems, and so his spiritual progress is a little checked, but it will not be so for long." Yeah, mind was constantly filled with thoughts of his mother and his brothers, his sisters. I don't know who was home and who was not there, but starving. So naturally, how can he give his mind to settle his mind on meditation and everything? And he was the only one old enough to get a job and be a breadwinner for them. His brothers were much younger at that time. Narendra was arguing on the veranda with a Vedantist. Now, when Sri Ramakrishna says Vedantist or M, it means Advaita Vedanta. It means the follower of the path of knowledge, a jnani. And now we always think Narendra is a jnani, follower of Advaita Vedanta, but he had the devotional side also, and certain things that he didn't care for. This idea, Brahman has become everything. God is the pot. We know that story of that, and that everything is unreal like a dream. That these were also things that the Brahmo Samaj didn't care for. Of course, he's been with Sri Ramakrishna for a long time, but still, he'll have some argument with the Vedantas. We don't know exactly. Now and then, the master went out to look at them. As the devotees gathered in the room, he asked Mahima to recite a hymn. Mahima chanted a verse from the Mahanirvana Tantra. We worship the Brahman consciousness in the lotus of the heart, the undifferentiated, who is adored by Hari, Hara, and Brahma. Mahima recited a few more hymns, and at last one to Shiva by Shankaracharya, that compared the world to a deep well and a wilderness. Mahima was a householder. The hymn ran thus: O great God, O thou auspicious one, with the moon shining in thy crest, slayer of Madan, the god of love. This is like our Cupid. Yeah, this is the equivalent of Cupid. Wielder of the trident, unmoving one, Lord of the Himalayas, O consort of Durga, Lord of all creatures, thou who scatterest the distress of the fearful, rescue me, helpless as I am, from the trackless forest of this miserable world. O beloved of Parvati's heart, O thou moon-crested deity, master of every being, Lord of hosts, O thou the Lord of Parvati, O Vamadeva, self-existent one, O Rudra, wielder of the bow, rescue me, helpless as I am, from the trackless forest of this miserable world. O blue-throated God, Shiva, whose ensign is the bull, O five-faced one, Lord of the worlds, who wears snakes upon thy wrists, O thou auspicious one, O Shiva, O Pashupati, O Lord, O thou the Lord of Parvati, rescue me, helpless as I am, from the trackless forest of this miserable world. O Lord of the universe, O Shiva, Shankara, O God of gods, thou who dost bear the river Ganges in the matted locks, thou, the master of Paramata and Nandika, two attendants of Shiva. O Hara, Lord of the world, rescue me, helpless as I am, from the trackless forest of this miserable world. O King of Kashi, Lord of the cremation ground of Manikarnika, O mighty hero, thou the destroyer of Daksha's sacrifice, O all-pervasive one, O Lord of hosts, omniscient one, who art the sole indweller in every heart. O Lord, rescue me, helpless as I am, from the trackless forest of this miserable world. O great God, compassionate one, O benign deity, O Vyomakesha, blue-throated one, O Lord of hosts, thy body is smeared with ashes, thou art garlanded with human skulls. Rescue me, helpless as I am, from the trackless forest of this miserable world. O thou who dwellest on Mount Kailash, thou whose carrier is the bull, O conqueror of death, O three-eyed one, Lord of the three worlds, beloved of Narayana, conqueror of lust, thou Shakti's Lord, rescue me, helpless as I am, from the trackless forest of this miserable world. Lord of the universe, refuge of the whole world, O thou of infinite forms. Soul of the universe, O thou in whom repose the infinite virtues of the world. O thou adored by all, compassionate one, O friend of the poor, rescue me, helpless as I am, from the trackless forest of this miserable world. Master, to Mahima, why do you call the world a deep well or a trackless forest? An aspirant may think so in the beginning, but how can he be frightened by the world if he holds fast to God? Then he finds that this very world is a mansion of mirth. Here I can eat, here drink, and make merry. Why should you be frightened? Hold fast to God. What if the world is like a forest of thorns? Put on shoes and walk on the thorns. Whom should you fear? You won't have to play again the part of the thief in the game of hide and seek once you touch the granny. Yes, Ramakrishna, he talked about two stages in spiritual life in terms of what is our attitude towards the world. So, from the point of view of the Jnani can say that, yes, everything is fleeting and dreamlike, and the only real reality is the indwelling pure consciousness. The devotee can say that this world is a trap, this world is full of attachments, that there's misery and suffering. We love people and then we get disappointed by them, so they try not to be attached that way. There's a preliminary. He says later we reach a stage where we see this world as manifestation of the divine, and we don't have any, we don't see any strangers or people to fear or anything, and we can try to love everybody. Beginning, we try not to be too attached, that somehow the mind will be drawn. Afterwards, then we can love everybody equally, see the divine within everybody. So that was the higher stage. Sometimes he talks about that's the stage after reaching the roof, we come back down. Other times he talks about these two stages that we can reach that. So these were two songs. One was by this Ram Prasad. This world is a mansion. This world is a framework of delusion. And this other song, this world is a mansion of mirth. He talked about these two all of the time. That one attitude is okay. That in the beginning, we want to make sure that we don't think this world is the beginning and end of everything. That the goal of life is enjoyment, and that we'll be fortunate people who never suffer in the world. We have to be realistic. But higher attitude is that once we get some inner strength, and once we are not so affected by things, then there's no fear, and we can enjoy this world in a different way. This touching the granny, this is a game that was played during Thakur's time, when all the little kids would be blindfolded, and somebody plays the role of the granny, the old lady. And the kids have to reach around and being blindfolded and try to touch the granny. If they do, they can take their blindfold off. But the granny doesn't want everybody to touch, so she'll dodge and go back and forth and everything, try to avoid being touched. But somehow if they touch, then they can take it off. So Thakur, for him, that meant that one had achieved that state of realization or freedom, that one didn't have to worry about anything at that point, that one was no longer blinded, that one could see things and enjoy the world. So once you touch the granny, you don't have to play the part of the thief. Now we're stuck with this role that we have. We're convinced that this is the beginning of my personality and the end of it and everything. Once we have that realization, then we see this also as just a play. King Janaka used a fence with two swords, the one of knowledge and the other of action. Nothing can frighten an expert player. To M, my mind is still drawn to what he just recited. This Ramakrishna referred to the hymns chanted by Mahima. Nabai Chaitanya and the other devotees began to sing. They were joined by the master, who danced drunk with divine love. Afterwards he said, this is the one thing needful, the chanting of God's name. All else is unreal. Love and devotion alone are real, and other things are of no consequence. Now, the language that Thakur uses here is interesting. Yeah, because he says that all else is mithya. Now, this term mithya is very fashionable to repeat this line, Jagat mithya, that this world is unreal like a dream. Mithya, it really means false. It really means like something is done in vain, that there's no point to it, that it's useless. We think there's something of value in it, but it's not. And then he says, love and devotion alone are vastu, the real substance. These are philosophical terms that he's not using in a philosophical sense. Vastu, that means that something has some real independent substance to it. And a vastu is something that just is appearance. But here, it means that which really is of value in life. So everything else is mithya. It doesn't mean that it's this illusion, that it's just a projection of the mind. It means that we won't get ultimate satisfaction and joy out of it. It'll be some temporary type of enjoyment, which will also be followed with some negative things also. Mithya. Avastu. Yeah, I'm telling you what he said. Vastu and avastu. First is mithya. It's nothing about that. It says so. Kaj. What is it? I just read it. I'll tell you. Ekajholo. That means that we've finished. What should have been done was done. It's very hard to translate it. So here it says, this is the one thing needful, the chanting of God's name. It says ekajholo. Yeah. Yeah. Arsho mithya. Everything else is false. Here it says unreal, but it really means it's in vain. Everything else is in vain. Anything that we do that's not going to lead us to love of God or realization of God is just has a temporary use to it. Love and devotion alone are real vastu, and all other things are avastu, no consequence. It's very hard to put it into to capture the original, but this is basically what it means. But yeah.
Was the nephew of Vivekananda's mother, Bhuvaneshwari,
And
he was cared by her in his childhood.
Yes, he lived with them. Yeah. So nephew, so they were really cousins then, second cousins. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, he when he was a boy, he lived in the same house with them, and Narendra's mother, how she raised him. Yeah. And who knows? Maybe they hid it from him. Maybe not everybody knew. I don't know. Hard to say. Later, Sri Ramakrishna went out in the direction of the Panchavati. He asked M about Binod, a student in M's school, who now and then experienced ecstasy while thinking of God. The master loved him dearly. As he was returning to his room with M, he asked, well, some speak of me as an incarnation of God. This is going to come up again. Same thing we had before with Girish. What do you think about it? He's asking M. Now, M was like Narendra. He was also a member of the Brahma Samaj. And M didn't even have any conviction or belief in reincarnation. and some scholars when he first came to Sri Ramakrishna, and certainly not with his avatar and all of that. So, but M was more quick to change his views on things. What do you think about it? The master came back to his room and sat on the small couch. He repeated the question, so M didn't answer the first time. He repeated the question to M. The other devotees were seated at a distance and could not follow the conversation. Master, what do you say? M. I think so too. You are like Sri Chaitanya. Master, is it a full manifestation of God or a part? There's Angsha and Kala. Huh? That among some of these Vaishnava teachers, they make all different distinctions. There's a portion of God, a part of God, what percentage, how many annas, all of that. Is it a full manifestation of God or a part? Tell me how much. M. I don't know, sir, but it is true that there is in you an incarnation of the divine power. There's no doubt that God alone dwells in you. Master, that is true. Chaitanya also wanted to realize Shakti, the divine power. This Chaitanya tradition, they have this Shiva Shakti idea, only it's with Krishna and Radha. That Radha is the Shakti of Krishna, and all different types of Shaktis. And so it's not so different from the Shakti tradition. Master. He said, okay. Narendra was engaged in a heated discussion, still with this Vedantin. Ram, who had recently recovered from an illness, joined him. Master to M. I don't like such discussions. To Ram. Will you stop that? You haven't been well. All right. Go on softly. Don't get so excited. To M. I don't like these discussions. I used to weep and pray to the Divine Mother, saying, Oh, Mother, one man says it is this, while another says it is that. Do tell me, Mother, what is the truth? So this is the end of that day. The next session will begin on page 715, and it's Saturday, March 7th, 1885. And I won't be here. So, I go when. So we'll meet the week after today. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukam Bhakthardavigraham Vari Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namama. We bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, who is an embodiment of the divine and the Supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Everyone have a nice week. See you next time.